Assalamu alaikum, I'm Munib Ali. Welcome to another video on the Qur'an study channel. So today we're going to be studying this concept of Halala marriage. We recently posted a video of one of our Sunday Qur'an study sessions where we looked in detail at Halala marriage. And that was as part of a number of videos, study sessions we were doing to do with marriage and divorce matters, etc., family matters. And a number of you requested that the video that we did on Halala marriage, we should do in English as well. Now, just a quick point to make, all the Qur'an study sessions that we have on this channel, when they are done in Urdu, we also arrange for them to be translated into English. So if you turn on the subtitles, you will be able to follow all of our Qur'an study sessions in English as well. Having said that, I thought it would be useful to do this particular session that we did in English too. Not least because, as you may recall, over the past we have done a number of videos about women and women's rights, and we've done lots of videos around subjects such as, can a man hit his wife? Does a husband have higher authority than his wife? Can women work? Can a man marry a child? What does idda mean for women? Are they prohibited from going outside their homes? And one of the areas that I promised we would look at from the perspective of the Qur'an is Halala marriage. So that is what we're going to look at today. Before we do that though, please don't forget to visit our YouTube channel and have a look at these previous videos which I just mentioned. And while you're there, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel as we are posting videos every week on the Qur'an. And if you find any of our videos useful, please don't forget to click on like and to share our videos to share the message. Now, in terms of today's study on Halala marriage, let's first have a look at the background to what this is. So the practice of Halala marriage goes something like this. A man and a woman get divorced. Normally what happens is that, let's say the husband, out of anger, says, I divorce you 3 times to his wife, and they considered themselves divorced. They soon realized that this was a mistake. And so what Halala marriage is, when the husband and the wife, now divorced, they decide they want to get back together again. And a Halala practice is when the wife marries another person, sometimes just for one night, gets divorced from the new husband, and then remarries the ex-husband with whom she has an agreement to remarry. Now, I haven't managed to dig out from our research how widespread this practice goes in this world, in the so-called Muslim community. What I do know, however, is that if you Google halal marriage service, you will see a number of individuals, often clerics or imams, who offer a halala service. I was shocked to find that in the UK, where I live, I was able to find a website with an individual offering a halala service, essentially offering to women a paid service where they marry the woman for one night, they consummate the marriage overnight, and then he agrees to divorce her in the morning, apparently permitting her then to remarry her ex-husband. And I was going through the terms and conditions of one of these, only for the purposes of research, of course. Now, this individual, this cleric, was charging the woman money for this one-night arrangement. The terms required the woman also to pay for the booking of a hotel room and any other incidental fees that may arise. Now, like I said, I don't know how widespread this is, but I know that it is a service that is offered and is taken up in many countries, including Pakistan and India. And like I said, I found this service to be offered in the UK as well. So the woman spends a night with an individual, pays for this service, pays for the marriage to be consummated, and then a divorce, so that she can marry her ex-husband. So that is the practice. So where does this come from? Now, people who offer this service or who support this service or this practice, they point to this verse. It's Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 230. And I'll just go through the translation here. And if he has divorced her, then she is not lawful to him. Now this is the important bit. Until she marries a husband other than him. And if he divorces her, there is no blame upon them for returning to each other. So this is all about, and this verse is in the midst of a number of verses talking about divorce proceedings. And what this verse is being interpreted by people to say is that if two people have divorced, and if they decide they've made a mistake, then the woman has to marry another person, and then divorce that other person, and then remarry the ex-husband. And out of this halala service, halala marriage service, has arisen. So that's the background. Now, if that is clear, what we're going to study now are 3 major transgressions of God's commandments that this practice, that this interpretation leads to. Some very serious transgressions. So let's take a look. So the first major transgression is to do with the very reason that leads to individuals to seeking this service. One of the key reasons why this service is sought is that the husband and wife go through the wrong divorce procedure. So even before they seek the service, the divorce procedure that they've gone through is very often a transgression. Very often what happens is that, let's say the husband, out of anger, as I said before, says, I divorce you 3 times. And many people consider this divorce to be completed. It's done in seconds. And as the anger then dies down, they realize a mistake. But this divorce procedure is a transgression. It is completely out of line with the proceedings described in the Qur'an. The divorce procedures are described in several verses in the Qur'an. And here they are. And I really want you to go and have a look at them. I will do a separate study session, a video, where we will go through these verses too. We've done them in a Sunday Quran study session, which was done in Urdu, which is also on our channel, which has English subtitles, as I mentioned. But I will do a summary video about these divorce procedures as per the Quran as well. But for the purposes of today's study session, what we really need to understand is that this process by which people consider the divorce to be completed by declaring a divorce 3 times is completely wrong. The divorce procedures in the Quran describes a long process. It cannot be done in seconds. And the reason why it's such a long process is that this contract, this marriage contract, is described by God in the Quran as a serious, solemn contract. Any serious contract that you have, that you can consider in your lives, how can you undo or break or tear up a contract in seconds by declaring words 3 times? How can that be possible? Think about that. So what God has done, because this is described as a serious contract by God in the Qur'an, He also describes a long formal process for freeing up the man and the woman from this contract. It requires a period of reconciliation attempts. It requires the appointment of independent arbiters, a judge, and then a waiting period, during which the husband and wife can reconcile. And then when that period is being undertaken, and if they do reconcile, and they decide again that they need to be separated, then you go through this process again. And again, you may decide to reconcile. And God gives you a number of chances to try and reconcile, because the emphasis is on the reconciliation. It is not an easy process to divorce. And the people who seek out this service of halala, they do not go through such process, because if they did, they would not need such service. They would have reconciled. So the very divorce procedure that they go through is transgression number 1, a major transgression. Now, the second major transgression is to do with the halala marriage itself, which is that when such marriages take place, both the service provider and the woman who is taking up this service, they're both transgressing the bounds of God. Because the contract, as I mentioned, this marriage contract is a serious, solemn contract, and there is a process described in the Qur'an for when you are getting married, when you are getting into this contract. Again, it's a long process. It requires a judge. It requires witnesses. It requires the husband to pay a dower before he touches his wife. And most importantly, when a marriage contract is being agreed, it is very important that this contract is being done on the basis that both the husband and wife will live within this contract for life. It is a serious partnership. You know that I've described in many videos how Allah describes a husband and wife as Zoj. And I've described the deep, strong, rooted meaning of Zoj, these two partners in life. So when you get into a marriage contract, you go into it with the intention of being each other's Zoj, partners for life. Now consider this halala practice. There is no intention at all to abide by this contract. No intention at all. So that is major transgression number 2. Now the third major transgression is such. When the initial divorce takes place between this man and woman who now want to get back together again, when this long divorce procedure, which I gave a summary of earlier, when that long divorce process is completed, the man, the ex-husband now, has no say in what his ex-wife now decides to do. She is free, completely free from the contract. He has no say anymore. And in a halala contract, normally it is the husband that gets involved to arrange this contract. Normally you will find that the ex-husband arranges for this service to take place, for his ex-wife to marry and spend a night with this person, be it a cleric or somebody else that's offering the service, and he is supporting and sponsoring the entire thing, when he should have no say whatsoever in what his ex-wife now does. This point about how the man has no say going forward is described in chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 231. So please go and have a look. So that is major transgression number 3. The entire concept of the arrangement of this halala service contains major transgressions. Now, I want to talk about mockery. So recall that it was verse 230 of chapter 2 which people rely on or point to when they support the existence of Halala service, Halala marriage service. What a shame that they do not look at the next verse. Have a look at this. In the next verse, when Allah continues to describe the proceedings of divorce, He says, and look at this last piece, and do not take the verses of Allah in jest, and remember the favour of Allah upon you, and what has been revealed to you of the book and wisdom by which He instructs you, and fear Allah, and know that Allah is knowing of all things. Here, Allah gives us a strong warning. He is saying to us, do not make a mockery of my verses. Do not make a mockery. Do not take my verses in jest. This halala service, which has been derived off the back of verse 230, what is it if it is not making a major mockery of Allah's verses? A major transgression. Allah is saying, fear Allah, and know that He knows everything. He knows all things. He knows that the people who are offering this service are making a mockery of His verse. He knows that they are making money out of this. He knows that they are providing this service only because of their own personal desires, this sickening desire. He knows that the people who are taking up this service are performing this marriage for the purposes of one night only. It is not a true marriage. Allah knows. We must heed this warning, for if we transgress in such a major way Allah's boundaries, and these are boundaries set by God, the divorce procedures have clear boundaries within them. If we transgress such boundaries, what do we expect to be the result? If not punishment, if not a life of hell. This halala service, this disrespect of a woman, this disrespect of this solemn contract called marriage, the humiliation of the woman that takes place by the hands of these so-called Muslims, these so-called clerics, these imams that people hold in such high regard, this degradation of the status of humans, these disgusting acts, uncivilized, worse than archaic. So before we end, what's really important to understand is what is verse 230 of Surah Al-Baqarah actually saying then? What is the truth behind it? So let's have a look at that. So let's have a look at this verse more closely. Here Allah is saying, and if he has divorced her, then she is not lawful to him. Tahillu lahu. This is really important. Allah is saying that once you've gone through this very long divorce procedure, through which you've had ample opportunity and encouragement to reconcile, if a divorce is completed, after that, the ex-wife is no longer lawful for you. It's done. The contract is over. It has been decided by both of you that you are not suitable for each other. So that's it. Tahillu lahu. Not lawful for him. But then Allah says, until or unless she marries a husband other than him. And if he divorces her, there is no blame upon them for returning to each other if they think that they can keep the limits of Allah. Now, so what Allah is saying is that if it so happens she has decided to marry somebody else with the true intention of being that person's wife, of spending her entire life with this other person now. They are husband and wife. They have gone through proper marriage proceedings. It is possible circumstances could dictate that they too get divorced. If that so happens, and then she decides, and the former ex-husband, they decide that actually now the circumstances are such that they should come back together again, then it is permissible. So the first instance, the first rule is that they cannot now remarry. It is over. But Allah in His grace is saying that even then there is permissibility if circumstances such arise that she has divorced the second husband for whatever reason, or perhaps he has passed away, and through honest and genuine consideration, the former husband and his former wife, they decide that they should get remarried, that they will live together forever as husband and wife, then it is permissible. But you can see that there are two key things here. First, it is unlikely that the two of them are suitable for each other. They've gone through a substantial divorce procedure which is determined that they're not suitable for each other. So it is very unlikely that they will get remarried through this part of verse 230. It is very unlikely that this will occur. That's the first thing, the unlikelihood of this happening. And the second thing is that it is circumstantial. It may be that circumstances arise such that she has divorced the second husband as well, and they've gone through a long process of divorce, the proper process, which takes months. And the circumstances may be that the former husband and the former wife decide to get together again, that it is the right thing for them to do. So it is unlikely and it is circumstantial. This verse is not allowing a halala service to be offered, a one-night consummated marriage. This is not what the verse is alluding to at all. So that's the study we were going to do today. If you found this useful, please share this with others, because there are many who do not understand this. And if you did like this video, please click on like, because it really helps how far YouTube spreads our videos. And of course, subscribe to our channel, because we do put up study sessions of the Qur'an every week. And I'll leave you with this thought. If many so-called Muslims are willing to accept such degrading, humiliating, despicable practices, and they consider this to be part of Islam, what else do you think has been corrupted from the word of God? Until next week, Assalamu alaikum.
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن